until you get hit with those unforeseen challenges. But don't worry, we've got you covered with easy fixes to common decor blunders on today's SoFlo Home Project. Welcome to SoFlo Home Project. I'm Alena Capra. So today we've got some great design advice for you to deal with some common design blunders, which can be very costly. But don't worry, these are the kind of things that could happen to even the most seasoned industry professionals, and I personally can also speak from my own design disaster experience. Today we share advice on selecting the right fabrics for your furniture, the importance of measuring twice and decorating once, things to consider before buying flooring, and so much more. So fabrics are one of the biggest things when it comes to selecting your furniture that most people don't always think about. Sometimes you're thinking more about the piece itself and making sure it'll fit in your home, making sure it's comfortable, making sure it has the right look and it's the right size. But the fabrics are a big part of the equation when you're selecting especially large furniture pieces like a sectional or sofa or large chairs. In the past, you'd have to be a little bit more concerned about what type of fabric you're using on those pieces. For example, most people would not want a white sofa in linen because that could stain very easily and it's not as practical. But performance fabrics really have kind of changed the game with that. So there are a lot of options in choosing a performance type fabric. For example, this is a white linen performance fabric. There's performance fabrics that have the look of a velvet, so you still have that soft hand of a really soft and comfortable fabric, but without the worry of it staining. So like I said, if you want to do that in a lighter color, you certainly can, because this here will be stain resistant. If you don't want to do performance fabric in a softer textile, but you like the look of perhaps a leather, there are a lot of faux leather fabrics and vinyls that are beautiful. So a great place where performance fabrics come into play if you have young children, you have pets, or in general you like to entertain and you don't want to worry about someone having a glass of wine on your white sofa in the living room. This is a good option for you. You could always think about getting the fabrics treated for stains with an outside company that comes and sprays it, or Scotch guarding it yourself. A quick note on that, you do want to make sure the type of fabric you are treating is able to be sprayed. If it's from a certain brand, you could sometimes check on the back, it will say that. There's a lot of information sometimes on the back of a piece of fabric. So don't guess, always ask, always verify before you put anything on your fabrics. You want to protect the furniture because you want to upholster one time. You want to order it one way and get the longest life out of it as possible. So there are a lot of ways to really kind of make sure the fabrics in your home will last, but we've got some amazing demos of that from the Romo showroom in Dakota. Check it out. So one of the things that I think most of us worry about is ruining the fabrics in our home by spilling something on it or accidentally getting pen on it. And here at Romo, this fabric really lives up to any wear and tear in the home.
Absolutely. Of course, everyone wants an immaculate home, but the reality is people have kids, they have pets, they entertain. So right here we have a stain-treated fabric that does not absorb liquid. So
this is like you hold your breath while you're doing this, and look at that.
Whether
oh my gosh.
it is coffee or wine, it will not absorb.
Just beads up.
Absolutely. All you have to do is kind of take a rag, move it over the fabric.
Wow.
And it's actually dry to the touch.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. So this type of fabric, this is a performance fabric. It is treated, it is coated.
It has a stain treatment applied to the top of the fabric, which does not allow any liquid to penetrate. So it doesn't matter what it is. Yes.
I mean, this is amazing. When you pour that on there, you're thinking like, oh no. I mean, coffee can ruin linen fabrics and all of these lighter tones. So this is a great option. Now, what about pen, right?
So this is a easy clean fabric, which means all stains, whether it is dirt, a liquid, or pen, can easily be removed with just water. So you can go ahead and test it.
All right, we are gonna draw on this. This is the fun part.
My 8-year-old has drawn on a lot of fabrics, so
all right,
this is actually very useful.
We've got some, I've kind of covered a large surface area with the pen, so now we could just wipe this off with just simple water and a cloth.
cloth that is wet and kind of
Try this
give
out.
it a go.
We usually say, do not try this at home. Try this at home on this fabric because it works.
Look, it's coming right off.
This is so awesome. And
there we go.
Look at this. I mean, this is amazing. So Mariana, this is amazing. I mean, this is just water. I mean, I haven't put anything, no chemical. And the ink from the pen is actually now completely transferred to the cloth and where it's damp and off of the fabric sample, which is exactly what you want it to do.
Absolutely. You'd never know that someone just wrote all over that. And whether it's a child that does it, it's any stain, household stain, like I said, either coffee, wine, dirt, pets, it'll immediately come off with just water.
So it's not just about the fabrics, but often the area rugs, another big part of our living spaces that we want to protect. So there are options of using materials that are going to be a little bit more durable and stain resistant, such as polypropylene rugs and other fibers that we have a lot of information from some past episodes that you may want to check out. So just scan the QR code on the bottom of the screen to see more on that. And additionally, you can always treat area rugs as well. There are companies that do treat them before you have them delivered. So you can always get them treated to be a little bit more stain resistant as well. Coming up, see why measuring tape is key in avoiding decor blunders on SoFlo Home Project. Up next.
Today we're going to show you beautiful windows that we've done to this home. Come see this incredible installation on this beautiful home.
Up next on SoFlo Home Project.
Welcome back to SoFlo Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and we are continuing to talk about how to prevent costly design dilemmas or disasters when remodeling or even furnishing your home. So here I want to concentrate on furniture, and one of the key things to think about before ordering any piece of furniture is actually measuring the room. So a tape measure is actually going to be the one tool that will get you through any home design project. The last thing you want to do is be stuck with a custom ordered piece of furniture that doesn't fit and can't be returned. So we are trying to prevent those types of things from happening. So your tape measure is key. Now, speaking of tape measure, a couple of quick tips. Always try to have at least a 25-foot tape measure. These are going to be their sturdier, bigger ones, because this is going to allow you to get a larger span of the room. Secondly, when you go to buy the furniture, bring one with you. Sometimes you might read the measurements off of some spec sheet that they have at the store, but it's great to be able to quickly assess that on your own with your own tape measure, especially if there's a real specific area you need to measure to make sure that it fits in your home. When it comes to oversized pieces like sofas, large headboards, things like that, tall cabinets, you know it might fit, but sometimes there might be obstacles within your own home that you have to think about. So hallways, some clearances, ceiling heights, and any obstructions. So for example, over here you're gonna see there's a sprinkler in the ceiling. So even though I have a specific ceiling height, I have to make sure that if we're fitting a big piece in and we have to tip everything in, that it's not gonna hit that, right? So you always wanna just take note of certain things when you're bringing large pieces in that you have to be aware of. You're gonna wanna measure your openings, right, of a major hallway. If I'm putting a big piece of furniture through here, I know I have 44 inches to play with in the width. And speaking of making things a whole lot easier when it comes to selecting furniture that fits in your home, we have more tips to share on that. But before we do, let's check in with our friends at USA Windows and Doors and see what advice they have for us today.
Hi, this is John with USA Windows and Doors, and this is Hugo. And today is going to tell us about the beautiful windows that were installed here.
This is a beautiful, huge house with more than 50 windows and 20 doors. And what we did is we maintained the colonial look because the customer wants to everything looks the same. We use ES windows, we use Elite line, and another thing is that we use the energy savings technology Lowy in all the house. So now the customer is going to have a cooler house and a great view And also, what we did is we maintained all the mullions. That's an extra job that we did for this house. We replaced all the wood bags that are in the opening. We rebuilt the stucco, we rebuilt the drywall, and also we repair all the rotten wood that we find in each opening in this house. Now we have to pass for inspection from the city. So the inspector is going to come here and see all the material and screws that we use. After we have the approval, then we cover everything when it's stucco, and the customer, the only thing that he has to do, he has to paint, and that's done.
So one of the unique things about this home is that it is a wood structure on the second floor. So we are required by city code to put these waterproofing flashing tape on all the openings, aside from putting the pressure treated wood. This is another layer of protection to make sure that no water is coming in, since we're doing wood on wood. And this right here is included, and it's all standard practice when it comes to installations at USA Windows and Doors.
So if you're also ready to upgrade your windows to Impact Windows and Doors, call USA Windows and Doors today.
Or go to usawindowsanddoors.com.
All right, so we have other areas that you definitely need to consider measuring before you buy any large piece of furniture. And this goes for if you live in any type of home, whether it's a single family home, whether it's a townhome, a condo. You definitely want to first measure the entry door. How wide is the door? How high is the door? And does it have a free and clear path to bring the large furniture in? Now, if the area you're delivering the larger pieces to is on the second floor of a home, you also want to think about the stairway, any obstructions, any major turns. So just kind of walk in and make sure that you can fit these items. The most important advice I have is in the condos, because there we are dealing with elevators. So one quick note is in older buildings, sometimes the height of ceiling and even the size of the cab of a service elevator is much smaller than what we're doing in today's codes. So you sometimes have to think about that. And then also, not just the elevator itself, but the hallway. So I'm gonna give you a quick thing from experience. As an interior designer, we always measure the service elevators to make sure everything is gonna fit and the entry door openings. But sometimes some service entrances have some tough turns into the unit and tight hallways. And in one particular case, we had a situation where we had very large sofas that fit in the elevator, but couldn't make the turn from the service hallway into the unit, so we had to bring it in an alternate entryway. You don't want to get into that, but these are just real things that can happen. So always, always, always check not just the height, width, and depth of the elevator, but the hallways. So when things don't fit in the elevator, you do sometimes have the options of a stairwell, which we don't want to have to do if you're too many flights up. You also have options of craning. You have options of, if it's a large sofa, removing one of the arms and then having it put back on site once it's in the unit. So there's a lot of modifications that can be done, but here's one other solution that we've seen. So Sarah, now on the other side of the beautiful kitchen is an equally beautiful dining space. So the dining space is also very huge. I love the large table. So we talked about making a entertaining space for a large family to enjoy meals and the view.
So I love the large table, and for this family it works great because they entertain and they come here on holidays, but it was a challenge to get this table in to the building. We had to bring it on top of the elevator.
Because it's so long.
It's so long and it wouldn't fit in the elevator. So that's one of the challenges that I think we discussed.
Yes, in condos, we always have this discussion when you are doing large pieces, also knowing how large you can go.
Right.
But sometimes you need a certain size, so you make it work.
You make it work.
And you made this work, and it looks amazing. I'm glad that you were able to incorporate this, because I feel like it brings such a grandness to the space.
Yes, definitely. And it's like a table for 10, so it's great. In a condo.
Yes, exactly. It is perfect, and it has all of those coastal kind of glam elements. Coming up next, what to consider when ordering flooring for your home on SoFlo Home Project.
SoFlo Home Project is sponsored in part by Eldorado Furniture. Looking to refresh your home? Visit us online at EldoradoFurniture.com or a showroom near you.
Welcome back to SoFlo Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and we are continuing to share ways on how to prevent design disasters in your home. So now I wanted to get a little bit more into the remodeling side. And when it comes to tile, there are many, many things to consider. So first and foremost, when you are calculating your square footage of tile to order, just some quick tips on that. You always want to get at least 10% extra. If there is a little bit more of a cut or a special pattern that you're doing in the installation, I sometimes like to do up to 15%. Having more is always better than having less for many reasons. One, you have extra in case you run short, then you're not delaying your job. And two, if down the road you ever have an issue, you have extra tile to store. Tile has dye lots, meaning the color may slightly vary based on when that was produced. So if you do have to order more tile down the road, it may or may not be a perfect match. So it's always good to have extra no matter what. Another big part of the equation that often homeowners may leave to their contractors or installers is selecting the grout. Grout is such a huge part of the finished product of any tile installation. I always encourage homeowners to make sure that you're the one selecting the grout. Now, you can lean on your installer and partner to find the right color, or perhaps a sales associate in the showroom where you're buying your tile. So here's a finished grouted mosaic, right? This was grouted lighter. The look of this would be completely different if we grouted it in the darker tone of the tile. Oftentimes, for like a shower floor, grouting this darker might be the better way to go because it is going to naturally stain in time. So a darker grout on a shower floor or even a main floor makes sense. So a good example of ways to select, right? All of these are grout charts. Every specific brand of grout has a different chart. The great part about that is there are so many different great color ranges available right now. And with the popularity of things like wood porcelain, getting the grout color on something like a wood porcelain is really important because you want to try to color match the tile. It is a product made to look like wood, but if you grout it too light, it sometimes tends to not give that real appearance. So I've selected a few options, and as you can see here, these are some that definitely bring out the hue and the color of the tile. So it's best to narrow it down to a few different ones. So there's always a lot to choose from. There's a lot of different brands that make grout. But the one thing I suggest, go darker on the floors if you can, just slightly darker. And one more last quick tip on grout. If you are using a mosaic, perhaps in a backsplash or as an accent, when you go lighter on the color, like in a more of an off-white or white, that really pops the pattern more in a mosaic. And when you go darker and you pick a darker tone, like if I grouted this darker, the pattern is not going to be as evident. You see how you see this all running through in the light? It tends to kind of change the way the pattern appears a bit, and you concentrate more on the darker areas. So if you really want the pattern to be a focal point, I would say to grout slightly lighter in order for that to really pop and be the center focus. So we have got a few more tips on how to prevent design disasters and solve your design dilemmas when we come back. Next, we have more easy fixes to Décor Blunders on SoFlo Home Project. Welcome back to SoFlo Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and I hope that you've enjoyed our day of sharing some ways to prevent some common design dilemmas and disasters, whether you're furnishing your home or renovating. We hope the tips were helpful. So keep in mind that when you are doing any type of home project, yes, things may go wrong, but the more you can do prepare for things not to is very, very helpful. So we love to continue to share these tips with you and hope to do that on a lot of our future episodes. And I do always suggest it is best to work with a professional when you can. This will help absolutely ensure there's a lot less errors along the way and sort of give you peace of mind throughout the process of the entire project. So with that being said, I hope that you guys got inspired to do some of your next home projects and prepared to deal with those design dilemmas. And speaking of design, let's take a look at what we've got for you next week on SoFlo Home Project. Next week on SoFlo Home Project, looking to retire in the comfort of your own home? We have a bedroom makeover that will inspire you to live out your golden years in style. So I want to thank all of you for joining us this week, and we hope to see you again next week for another all-new episode of SoFlo Home Project right here on Local 10. And remember, there's no place like SoFlo Home. If you missed any part of this episode, or if you're looking for more design inspiration, make sure to check out all episodes online at sofloshows.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram.